I'm Deborah Prinzing, founder of Slow Flowers Movement, of the Slow Flower Society, and sort of blessed that Lois Moss invited me to be part of this cruise as a host. So we're kind of calling it the Slow Flowers Cruise, but a lot of people have said to me, what is Slow Flowers? Would you talk about it a little bit? And that was the impetus for saying, you know what, we're on the boat. I have a Slow Flowers member here who's a dear friend and a exemplary member, I must say. And I thought I would invite Eileen Tongson to chat with me. And as we talk about her business and what's happening in the Slow Flowers movement, it'll give you a little of an introduction. And some of you know what Slow Flowers is. Carrie is a past member, so she can jump in with commentary. And before we get started, I just want to say, many of you have seen me promote this book, The Flower Farmer, and there is do you know what page it is?
Mine?
Yeah.
92-ish?
I love it. I love it that Eileen knows her page.
There it is.
There's a fabulous chapter about Eileen in the book called about her business, FarmGal Flowers. So now if you buy the book, you'll know her and know her story. We featured 29 farms in the book across North America. Here's another amazing. I have major cottage garden envy here. I mean, amazing. And here's one of her designs. So she really.
I have to say, I felt like this was the culmination of like all my work so far.
Good.
So it was, very special.
It was very special. And your husband Sebastian.
And I worked on it. My husband did all the photography
for her chapter,
which ended up being great. You know, we're still happily together. I mean, if you've done photography with a significant other, it can be challenging.
Yeah, he did a great job.
I wouldn't. This photo of myself, he did it. That's how I would have wanted myself captured, you know, and probably he could do that. So I was very pleased that that's the photo you selected. We sent all the photos to Deborah and Robin, and they selected what was going to be used.
It's a great portrait shot because you're framed by a jasmine vine.
Yes.
Love it. I love it. So anyway, that was just a wonderful coincidence that Eileen said yes. There were 29 farmers in the book, and across North America. So we had to make some tough decisions about those. We could do like hundreds of books. There's so many awesome flower farmers in the world. But Eileen, I thought I would start by asking you and you've been a past guest of the Slow Flowers podcast, but we've known each other a long time. In fact, Eileen found a photo of when we first met. What year was it?
At Disney World. She was a special guest giving a talk.
Yeah, I was at Disney World and you showed up and introduced yourself. In your backyard.
And then you were doing a demo, right?
I was there for like a long weekend speaking, and see, they're so heavy this just fell off. So anyway, that was our introduction to each other, and I knew about you, and I knew you had a flower farm in Orlando, and then over the years we've been able to collaborate on a lot of things.
A lot of projects, right.
So can you give everyone a little snapshot of FarmGal Flowers?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, so we are in Orlando, Florida, Zone 10A. I primarily grow flowers. I grew so many flowers. My husband, after a year or so, they were all in our kitchen. My husband said, "You have to do something with all of these flowers." I'm affiliated with East End Market in Orlando, which is a local artisanal food hall. And they have a market garden out front, and the owner asked me if I wanted to grow flowers there. So I said yes, and then it just snowballed from there. There are a lot of chefs who started out at East End Market. It's meant to be an incubator, so they start off at the market, and then most of them continue on and open their own restaurants, which has been a nice connection for me. We grow all of our flowers organically and sustainably, which is very important for a lot of local chefs. They have an event space at East End Market, so the owner was like, "Why don't you teach classes here?" So I became an educator there, and then our local botanical gardens is literally just down the street, so I became an instructor there. We sell flowers there. Chefs use we grow a lot of edible flowers, and as I said earlier, the chefs use those. And what else?
You work with
That's about it.
corporations. You do special events with corporations.
Yes,
like
sometimes we
pop-ups.
do. Yes, sometimes we do pop-ups with local businesses and some really well-known businesses, local that have
Brands.
locations, right? Brands that in our area. But that's primarily it. I teach. I do events. I'm known for color, primarily because white. Bugs are really attracted to white flowers in our climate, but I am known to be, I love bright colors anyway. So I'm not your typical wedding floral designer. I kind of have a specific niche, but it's worked out really well. So we do events, I teach, and I do restaurant work too. And in the beginning I said yes to everything, but as the years went on, I realized I could not do everything. And those seem to be the services our market wanted, and the ones that I actually enjoy the most. I love to teach, so that's how it's worked out for us.
And when did you actually start FarmGal Flowers?
It's been about 12 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right around when we first met.
Yes.
When I said she's a model a member, it's because the Soul Flowers movement sort of happened organically from a book I wrote that came out in 2013 called Slow Flowers. It was my effort to prove to an editor who thought that my concept was very fringe, a New York editor who basically said to me, you can't have local flowers year-round, as opposed to the alternative, unless you live in Santa Barbara. She should have added Orlando too, but she said, that's a fringe topic. It's not mainstream. I'm not interested in a book. And I thought, well, I'll show you. And I live in Seattle, and I started making one arrangement a week for 52 weeks. And I thought it was going to be a blog series. I had previously published a number of books, including a book called The 50-Mile Bouquet, which is an homage to flower farming, American domestic flower farming. But this was a little bit different because it was really looking at seasonality. So for 52 weeks, I clipped from my garden, made an arrangement, photographed it. I look back at those pages from that book and I cringe because my skills have improved so much because you do, the 10,000, do something 10,000 times.
Yes,
You can't help but
Absolutely.
improve. But it was sort of it became a book, and it was like a little manifesto, like here is what's possible. If you look at the seasons, and my California friends are over here nodding, they can do this 52 weeks of the year. My winter arrangements were twigs and conifers, forest paper whites, amaryllis, succulents, a lot of sort of floral type elements in the winter, orchids. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that book became my homage to this idea. Then I started talking at garden clubs, flower shows, the press. The phrase Slow Flowers and the Slow Flowers movement were kind of coined. And people would say to me, Deborah, I love this idea. I drank the Kool-Aid. I want to support local farmers, support floral designers who are also treating this as an important philosophy for their brand, like chefs in the slow food movement, which you can kind of make the leap that I've basically borrowed from the slow food movement. So people said, how do I find this type of individual in my community? And that's when I started an online directory, slowflowers.com. I'm pretty sure that FarmGal Flowers in Orlando was our first Florida member, because Florida isn't really known for flower agriculture, is it?
Yeah, that's something I struggled with in the beginning because people used to say, you can't grow flowers in Florida. It's too hot. Maybe the tropical things.
Or
But
ferns and all the greenery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We are known for that, greenery, yes. But I just received a call from a potential new client maybe a month ago, because he had seen my flowers and said, I want a cottage. I saw your flowers, I want a cottage garden. I didn't know we could do that, with the delphinium and the foxgloves and everything. But you can, it's all timing. Timing is the really big issue for us, yeah.
That's so unique about you, because I see when you're teaching cottage garden or cutting garden design classes, and you're teaching people in the winter, basically, right? Like, what's your cycle? When do you start planting, and when are what's your first crop of the year?
Yeah, when I teach my beginners, I always start the beginning of the year for us. I kind of coincide it with the school year. So for us, we start, again, I'm zone 10A. So we start early September, end of August, early September is the beginning of our first growing season. Those flowers tend to bloom November, beginning of December.
And what would they be?
Mostly the heat tolerant flowers like zinnias, sunflowers, celosia. We do also start dahlias in September. And then we start then the next season starts, and our biggest season, it starts in January. And those tend to bloom end of April, beginning of May, right in time for Mother's Day, which is our biggest holiday of the year. I do push some flowers through in the summer. Historically, because my children are older now, but when they were younger, they kept me busy in the summer. But now that I do restaurants, we have to have flowers year round. So again, we push those heat tolerant flowers through in the summer. Not as many, because that is the hardest time for us to grow flowers, is the summer, because of the heat, the pests, and the daily rain. Now we do have our other season, our cool flowers season. Cool as in cool weather, but they are cool too. Because those are the ones everyone goes crazy about that I just mentioned earlier. The foxgloves, delphinium, anemones, ranunculus, all those types of flowers. So you basically, could grow year round.
Almost.
In June, sometimes I feel like sometimes by June, I feel like I'm gonna fall over and as when it's getting hot, but I figured that's where I want to die anyway. So.
Me too.
In the garden.
I do too. That could be a t-shirt. I want to die in the cutting garden.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's great. And what I find so interesting about your business, and I think a lot of Slow Flowers members fall into this category, there's a term that many of you probably have heard of, the farmer-florist. And the farmer-florist is the grower who also designs. And it's interesting because when I give talks about the Slow Flowers movement, I show this slide of an old sign outside of a flower shop in Chicago. The business had gone out of operation, but the sign was like the typical Webster's Dictionary definition of a florist with the little pronunciation marks, and then it said one florist, one in the business of growing flowers and ornamental plants, and growing and designing flowers and ornamental plants. And I thought, that's what we all grew up with. I mean, I remember in Massachusetts in the 70s, there was a little flower shop in my town that had a greenhouse attached to it, and there were African violets and geraniums, like, those ones we saw the other day. And those two industries have become somewhat divorced and have, in the conventional, traditional, mainstream industry, florists do not grow and growers aren't designers. And we're trying to bring it back together. And that's really what Slow Flowers is the Venn diagram of a farmer and a florist with design at the center. And I did not say that at the beginning because I didn't exactly know what this was about. It was just a book, and then it kind of kept morphing into something. And that, I think, when I meet people who are doing that very thing, Eileen is a good example. I feel like that's where we can bring in gardeners like everyone here, people who love floral arranging. It's just, I love this. How can I grow it? And I feel like that's your customer as well, your students.
Well, our FarmGal Flowers mission is to teach others how to grow flowers and share them with others. It's just really simple. As I said earlier, I teach a lot of people, how to grow flowers. They come to my workshops at the Botanical Gardens and at East End Market. But I also teach at our local public library. At least twice a year, I teach a mini beginners workshop that anyone can come to from any background. And it's a taste of my larger workshop. And we also have a seed library at our library that we contribute all the flower seeds to that. So I feel like that's really important. I've been trying to promote that because that gives access to a lot of people. And I get the pictures I get back from my students. I love. There's orange cosmos you guys are all probably familiar with those. Super easy to grow, right? I mean, I get all these pictures. I just, I see I think Orlando is going to be like covered in orange cosmos maybe in 10 years because of this. But isn't that a good thing? I think that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Is it the orange of your trim of your shirt? It's probably like the Dutch orange?
Yes, it's like orange from King's Day yesterday. Yeah, you guys are familiar with that.
I love it. In the chapter about Eileen in the Flower Farmer book, like all the farmer chapters, we end with a 2-page spread on a signature flower. Everybody wanted dahlias. All
I was
29.
just about to say, mine is supposed to be the dahlia. I thought it was.
So many people wanted dahlias. Unfortunately, my co-author, Robin Avni, vetoed anybody having dahlias except for the business who had the word dahlia in her business name. Robin's like, come on, it's all dahlia'd up, Misty Vanderweel. We have to let her have dahlias.
I met her.
Ironically, she's outside of Anchorage, Alaska, which you wouldn't think of.
I know, yeah.
But people don't think of Orlando as dahlias. But,
right.
But Eileen graciously shared all her knowledge about growing celosia, which I personally love but have trouble with because we don't get hot enough in Seattle.
Yeah.
So she shared her favorite varieties, her techniques, how she designs with it. But one of her secrets is she creates her own celosia seed mix at the end of the season. But instead of like making it very color specific, you just throw all the seeds together and make this beautiful mix.
That's a little bit out of laziness.
Well, they're tiny seeds, right?
Right. But I do tell my students, the varieties they're getting in my seed mix are my favorites because I only save my favorite varieties. So it's a little bit of a surprise, but they're always beautiful. But yeah, so I don't know if I told you this so in the beginning, as Deborah just said, I was assigned celosia for the book. 12 years ago, celosia was not my favorite flower. Because in the beginning, it was that bright, you guys know, like that bright fuchsia color.
Garish.
Like, it was a little, don't get me wrong, I like bright colors, but it's a little bit hard to put into arrangements. But then through the years, they've really developed many different varieties and really pretty colors, like, the salmon color is very popular. Different shapes and texture. It has amazing vase life. We use it for all our wearables, for boutonnieres, corsages, flower crowns. You can dry it. So in the end, now we cannot live without. We cannot survive. The business can't survive without it. It grows year round. We save seed. There's just so many different functions.
You call it Eileen's mix, right? Eileen's
Yes.
celosia mix? Yeah, I love it. She's the boss. She can call it that. It's really great.
But really anyone can make, I tell my students, you can make your own. This is not like hard, you can make your own.
It's not
seed mix.
patented or anything. Yeah.
No.
But the fact that you do that with the local library, and that's sort of your charitable, volunteer work, is that you're giving all these seeds to seed the community.
Right. As we approached 10 years in business, I felt like, probably should have done it earlier. We really needed to contribute back to the community, and I wanted to have some kind of legacy for the business too, in the long run.
Yeah.
So,
The one thing that you aren't is a person with a big acreage and rows of agricultural style planting.
Right.
So is that something you wish you had, but you're limited by your property size?
Well, you've seen my logo. Some of you may have seen it, but I can show it. May have not seen it yet, but I can show it to you afterwards. It has a tractor on it. It's a super cute logo, and I intended to have a tractor. I was ready to buy a tractor, but I still don't have a tractor. 12 years in. When you see it, you'll understand the wheel is a flower, so it's really cute. But we don't have a traditional farm setting. We're in an urban area. We grow on 2 to 3 plots. One, as I described earlier, at East End Market, it's about 2,000 square feet. We grow flowers, but we also grow vegetables there too. And then I have my property, and then there's a third property that we can use as needed. So,
you're a true urban gardener.
Right. It's definitely an urban setting. There are pluses and, I don't want to say minuses, but, challenges, let's put it that way, to that. For instance, when, I know it's Florida, but we do get some cold weather, but because we're in an urban setting, we have microclimates, and I rarely have to cover anything, and the cool flowers do beautifully. And then we're right in our communities. People are constantly coming up to me during the workday asking me, what's this, or can I have some of those, those seeds, or where are you selling your flowers, or yeah. So that's definitely a plus.
Yeah, you're the face of the business, and also for East End Market, you're kind of their spokesperson for their focus on organic and sustainable.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What do you have? I mean, you have a very busy year with children with a lot of activities, and then you came on this cruise. So, how are your flowers doing when you're gone?
Well, I said my husband's been receiving a lot of texts over the past week. We were at an event, I guess maybe this was a year or two ago, and he does do like I said earlier, does do the photography for me as well. But he was kind of on the sideline, and someone was like, "Oh, are you with FarmGal?" And he says, "Yes, I'm the farm boy." Oh, my poor husband. But
That's why he went to medical school, right?
But I really do most of it. I mean,
Yeah.
he'll help me with some of the heavy lifting. I have some volunteers that help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you have cooking for the rest of the year?
Yeah, sorry, that's where we were going with that. Well, Mother's Day is our biggest holiday of the year, which is coming up
Very soon.
in the States very soon. We usually partner with Williams-Sonoma or another local business. We usually pop up there and do the flowers. That's our biggest event that's coming up next.
So everything that you sell is straight out of your gardens.
Yes,
And-
or I do work with some of the other local. There are other local farms now,
Yeah.
in Florida or the South, Georgia. If I need extra, then I'll get extra flowers from them. Sometimes I teach larger workshops where I might not have enough flowers, so I source from them, which is some of them I believe are part of
Yeah.
Slow Flowers too. So it's a great way, and some of them only sell flowers. Like they don't do these other services that I provide. So they're happy to work together, and so I'll drive out there and pick up flowers.
Yes,
from
I
them.
love that.
Yeah.
I do see that happening all across the country, where these either formal or informal collectives of farmers, flower farmers, are really creating their own community and helping each other.
Yeah. Some of them are primarily vegetable farmers too, but flowers and vegetables grow together. So I'll take, I'll get some extra flowers from them as well. But it works out nicely, and it's good. Like I said, I'm in an urban setting. It's kind of fun to drive out there and see their farms, see what's going on there, and collaborate, and yeah.
I love it. Well, why don't we open it up to questions, because it's almost the top of the hour, and I want to give people time to ask questions and then also transfer up to our watercolor activities with Lorene. Does anybody have any questions?
So Carrie since we're in an urban setting, Carrie's asking if we had to remediate, is that did I say it right? Our soil. We grow everything in raised beds. Which works well for our area and for me. As I said, I'm primarily running this business myself, so I can turn over the beds faster. Because they're raised beds.
Yeah.
So the sizes vary depending on the location. We primarily grow in mushroom compost. Flowers are heavy feeders, like dahlias are heavy feeders.
And thirsty, right?
Yeah, and
But you get rain.
yeah, but you also bring up another point. Raised beds drain well. Flowers do not like to sit in water when we get those heavy rains. So that is, I think, a part of what's made us successful in growing flowers in Florida. Everything's in raised beds on all the properties. But yeah, so it's primarily mushroom compost. I do mix an organic granular flower fertilizer in there before we start out, and that's it. I operate very simply with, I teach my students, this is the minimum of what you need. Part of that is, like I said earlier, it's me primarily running this business, and I'm going to multiple locations, and I can't drag a lot of stuff around with me from plot to plot. So the items that I share with my students, I feel like are the most important ones that you need, and yeah.
That's brilliant.
We initially, a lot of things start out for an economic reason, but we had a mushroom farm near us, and they had a lot of mushroom compost that they gave away for free. So the owner of the market would send a truck over there, we'd fill it up, dump it out in the parking lot, and fill all the raised beds free. So we didn't really care like how much salt was in there. And honestly, the vegetables and flowers just loved it, you know, and again, we operate simply, and that was just it. East End Market is always open, and people can walk through there. On my property, my house is also there. So, but I do teach from there. I have a studio, which Deborah showed in the book
Charming
earlier.
little garden cottage.
And I teach online from there. I teach private workshops there. It's a smaller setting. My cottage is about 240 square feet. So the most I can teach in there comfortably is like 3 to 4. So if you book a private workshop, then you get a garden tour as well. Occasionally I'll do open houses and invite people to come and, you know, enjoy the garden and, you know, kind of like a little happy hour type thing. I do enjoy doing that. We'll maybe do that twice a year or so. Yeah, I have the garden club I was at 2 months ago down in South Florida.
The one at Boca Grande.
They're all coming up in the fall. That's going to be a little bit of a production.
The ladies at Boca Grande?
Yes.
Yeah, I've spoken to that group. I love it.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll have more copies of the Flower Farmer book there and you can sell them all.
I sold some while I brought some there, and yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
When Eileen, she's one of the more entrepreneurial people in the Flower Farmer book. When she does a workshop or a course, she has copies of the book on hand and can sell them at the same rate as they give the authors, which is wonderful. And then you can sign them, and you sign the title page or your own chapter,
Yeah,
and
really
I love
fun.
it.
It's really fun.
It's like we have these ambassadors out there doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cindy.
Do you sell any of your seed mixes?
Oh, can you repeat that? Yeah.
I was just asked if we sell any of our seed mixes, and a lot of people expect me to say yes, because there definitely is that opportunity there. If you come to my classes, if you come to my beginners workshops, as part of that, you receive a collection of seeds that I have curated, and some of those are from my garden, some are from other seed producers. So technically, I don't sell them. It's on my list of, you know, there's so much you can do.
You can become her pen.
I know.
You can become her
there's just
pen
so
pal.
Yeah, there's just so much, you know.
Come to Orlando.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, come visit me. Yeah. Then you'll get some seeds. Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks, Bonnie. That's great. Bonnie was commenting that, or asking Eileen if she sees herself as a role model. I will just say, yes, she is a role model. She's showing everyone in the Slow Flowers movement there are so many ways to offer points of entry for consumers to experience gardening, flower farming, cutting gardens, but also to create a source of revenue based on what you love. So that's a very general answer, but now share some advice for someone wanting to get started on perhaps turning their passion into a entrepreneurial venture.
Well, I mean, just the other day, I received a text from one of my students, you know, who's down in South Florida, doing something similar. She's a beginner. It is kind of like a little side hustle, and she was asking me for advice on how to create, you know, I'm at this point now, what do I do? So I guess, you know, I am a role model. And I would just, you asked about advice, you know, that I would give. Deborah mentioned that initial publisher in New York was like, you know, I don't know if people are going to really buy into this. I've never really told anyone this story, but maybe 2 months into starting my business 12 years ago, another business owner at the same market I'm still at said to me, no one's going to care where their flowers came from. And I was a little shocked at how open she was with me. Like, I just feel like that wasn't nice.
Yeah.
And I know when you're a business owner, they say don't take things personally and all that. But But
that kind of hurt.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, am I doing the right thing? Maybe they won't care. But, I just loved it. So I just loved it so much. And as my husband, when I was approached, by the market to do this, my husband was like, well, you're going to grow flowers anyway, irregardless. So let's try and break even, and so, now, like, I'm still in business. The other person's not in business anymore,
Mic drop.
No, I hate to be like that, but I guess what I'm also trying to get to is be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you just,
Yes.
I know it's simple and people are like, oh, yeah, everybody's nice. But really, like, I've seen a lot of businesses come and go through the years, and you just be nice,
That's great advice. And I do see a lot of, just in the general zeitgeist, when I first started documenting flower farming and sustainable floral design as a journalist, like around 2008, 9, 10, there was such a sentiment like, well, that's not real agriculture. Flower farming is not real agriculture. We're real agriculture, the food, and that's, you're a lightweight because you're not feeding the world. Of course, we believe that flowers feed humans in a different way, and I think that flower farming has, thanks to the efforts of so many people, influencers, but hardworking farmers who've been doing this for 30 years and hauling their flowers to the farmers market and, being in their community, we're all trying to elevate an awareness of how beautiful local flowers are and how good they are for humans, for the environment, and for the beauty in our world that we all crave and need. So that is being an influencer, and that is being a role model. So thank you so much. I think we'll wrap up now because I want to we can stay around and chat with people, but I want to free people up to our next morning
Can I say
activity.
one little thing?
Can you? You can tab the mic. I'll shut up.
No. Someone asked about coming to see our flowers, at, I think it was you, at East, so that's always open at East End Market. Our arrangements, we are the floral designer for a local restaurant called Kaya, and they're the first Michelin Green Star restaurant in Florida. So you can see our arrangements there year round. But that, along with the book, I feel like that has been one of our best achievements so far, because they attribute, our flowers as part of winning this, really prestigious award. If you're not familiar with the Michelin Green Star, it's given to restaurants who, I think there's a certain percentage of their food, flowers are all produced locally. So that was a huge thing for Florida, and for this restaurant, obviously.
Aren't they a Filipino restaurant too?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So you are kind of their spokesperson in that way too.
Yeah.
I want to eat
They're
there.
really nice people too. I mean, incredibly talented, but really nice. I mean, it's just a joy to work with them every week. So
it's a great gig.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for asking questions, and for coming.
Yeah, I'm so touched. I'm so touched that you all came.
You told me last night this is going to be one-on-one, like just us.
I said there would be 2 or 3 people here.
There's like 20 people here.
Well, it's a great morning to cruise and look at the scenery.
I know. When are we going to have this background for an interview?
Yeah. Thank you all so much. I hope it was helpful. And I will send this recording out for people along with more information about how you can get involved in Slow Flowers movement, or how you can go to Orlando and contact Eileen. So
I mean, you don't just have to grow flowers. You can be a supporter of Slow Flowers. There are
artists, educators.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping us do this. It was so beautiful. When we promoted the tour, Eileen texted me right away and she said, "I'm coming to Amsterdam with you." And I thought, awesome. We've never spent this much time together ever. It's great. And you brought your wonderful cousin Sarah.